the first look at SpaceBlender. You do actually get some really cool effects. Immediately it adds more space. And also if you go into warp mode, push it a little bit, ambient sound, the big ambient sound. Well, what else can it do apart from big, long ambient reverbs? A nice hall reverb. Nice. Hi folks, it's John here from the home recording studio, and today we're going to be taking a look at a new plugin from SoundToys called SpaceBlender. I've been using SoundToys plugins for a good few years now, so when I heard that they had released a new plugin, I was naturally curious. But when I found out it was free, well, what's not to like? Now there are plenty of videos out there which show you how the plugin works and take you through all the controls, but I thought today we would just dive straight in and have a look at some of the presets. After all, that's what SoundToys plugins are all about. So here we go. Okay, so this is the first look at SpaceBlender, and we're in Logic. We've got a variety of different sounds. Now one of the applications which I've found SpaceBlender really useful for is in sound design. So I've been working on a lot of sample packs lately, designing sounds like noise effects, transitions, sweeps, risers, that sort of thing, and I think SpaceBlender is great for that. So let's just bypass it so we can hear the original dry sound before we add SpaceBlender. Okay, just a standard sort of noise riser and faller or sweep. And then let's add in SpaceBlender. Now the setting I've got on this is called First Swell. So if you look in the categories, the second one down, you've got quite a few presets for swells. So obviously this is going to work well for what we're doing. And let's just see how that sounds. Immediately it adds more space. Now you can change the time using that setting there. Let's have a look at some other effects I've been working on. This is a short swell of laser sounds. So if we switch SpaceBlender on, this is a patch called Dark as Always, and that's in the decay category. And then out of interest, let's just see if we put the mix up to full and elongate the time as well. So there we get more of just a sweep transition. We don't really hear the laser sounds. We don't hear the really high pitched sounds. So that's something interesting to think about. So here we go again with a reverse cymbal. And so what I've done for this sound is I've used a ambient patch. You do have some reverse patches or presets, but I found that this didn't elongate the sound. It just cut off where the reverse ended. So for me, I wanted to make this a longer transition, and I've chosen this Dark River preset here. Again, let's listen without it. And with. We've got another cymbal. This time it's a swell sound. Now this one, let's turn off all the plugins because I've got a few plugins here. This one I wasn't too happy with the original sound, so I want to soften some of the transients of the cymbal being struck. It's being played with mallets, but you can still hear some of the attack. Let's listen. And for me, with cymbal swells, I don't want to hear that percussive sound. I just want to hear the kind of like a dark swell. So I've used SpaceBlender, but I've also used a bit of EQ as well, taking out some of the lows and highs, and a transient designer, which I've used to take out all of the attack and add a bit of sustain. And then the final plugin is the SpaceBlender. Now, with this one, as with the last one, we tried putting the mix up to full. That's really going to get rid of all that high frequency attack sound. So now let's listen with SpaceBlender. So that's much better now. Moving on, we've got some synth textures. Here's the dry signal. And with this one, similar to the last one, I've got the mix at full, and it turns it into a bit of a pad, really, more of a droney pad. This is actually a reverse patch, but I kind of like the way this sounded. So completely softens the sound again, takes away all that attack and the transients, and yeah, just a really nice ambient sound. Next we've got some vocals without SpaceBlender. I've gone for a more ambient sound. This is a space capsule preset in the ambient category, and the mix is up full. If you want to play with the colour, that will adjust either the brightness of the sound or the darkness. I believe it transitions. So if you turn the colour up to full, it will start as a darker sound but then brighten up gradually, and then vice versa. Let's push it a little bit into the brighter area and see how that sounds. You can also use the freeze button as I just did then, and that will keep recycling the signal. But you might be saying, well, what else can it do apart from big, long ambient reverbs? Well, let's try it with some drums. And for this, we're going to use the gated category. This is a patch called 1985. First of all, let's bypass SpaceBlender. And this is just a drum loop from my lo-fi tape drums sample pack. Completely dry sound, but now let's listen to it with the SpaceBlender gated reverb. And let's just cycle through some of these gated patches. Now let's move on to some guitar sounds. This is from my Vintage Vibe guitar sample pack. Now with SpaceBlender, I've just gone with a nice hall reverb. Nice. I think this works really well on guitars, especially if you want that big ambient sound. And it was no surprise to me when I actually read on the SoundToys website that one of the engineers involved with creating SpaceBlender actually worked on the Eventide Black Hole Reverb, the original one, which is fantastic reverb if you get a chance to try that as well. Moving on, let's have a listen to a couple of keyboard loops. So this loop is from my Lo-Fi Keys sample pack, and it's quite a dry sound, but I really wanted to liven it up a bit with SpaceBlender, and I ended up going for a gated sound again because I didn't want to wash out the sound too much. So that's a really short one, that's 186 milliseconds, but all of these parameters are customizable, so you can play with that to your heart's content. You do actually get some really cool effects when you manually change the time as well, and also if you go into warp mode. Some really good creative possibilities there. You could actually automate that parameter and get some really cool, interesting effects. Just going to listen to one more keyboard loop, again from my Lo-Fi Keys sample pack. This is how it sounds originally. And for this one I've used an ambient patch, but again I have turned the mix down quite low. So there we go, SpaceBlender on a variety of different samples and sounds, and I hope you found that useful. So that's it for now. Let me know in the comments what you think of SpaceBlender and what sort of sounds you think it works best with. Remember, it's only free until the 22nd of May 2025, so go and check that out while you can. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.